welcome to a very special edition of WNBA Wagers. Our first time ever, we're having a guest come into the studio. We're here with Dano Mataya. He does content for Her Hoop Stats and all things betting over at Spread the Floor. He is an expert on sports betting. I had to have him on. How you doing?
I'm good. By the way, it's Dano Mataya, but no big deal. I know we haven't really met in person yet, but I love you. You're my Leo sister. August 15th, August 17th. We've been cooking up great bets all year. Playoffs, is there any better time of the year?
I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy that the first round is kind of already over. I feel like this entire season has just been on like fast forward. But, we have our semifinal matchups, which is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be previewing all of it. And our first semifinal matchup happened to be the Las Vegas Aces and the Seattle Storm. And I don't know if you saw the graphic today that there's 7 number 1 picks in this matchup, which is kind of crazy when you think about the talent. But let's talk about the Aces first. What have you thought about their playoff run so far?
It's hard to actually judge it, right? They had a pretty easy matchup with the Phoenix Mercury, who were definitely injury depleted. We all know about Brittany Griner being wrongfully detained. Then you lose Diana Taurasi. And from there, Skylar Diggins-Smith goes out with a mental thing. We all hope she's great. So it's hard to judge that team because I don't think they were truly tested. They could have coasted and easily won those games. Mm-hmm. But there were certain aspects of that team that I was super impressed with. The shooting efficiency, especially in game 2 in that first half, setting a record with 11 threes. Hard to knock that. And one player in particular definitely set herself apart from the rest, and that would be Chelsea Gray.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've had Noor Zainab here at the Parleh. She loves to refer to her as the point god, as we all do. Loves to compare her to Kyle Lowry because, we are Canadian, so we got to make the connection there. But they do face the Seattle Storm. The Storm also swept their opponents, the Washington Mystics. Were you hoping for a game 3 there on the Storm side?
Oh, absolutely. It's a bummer because I think the Mystics in any other matchup probably are in the second round, maybe in 2 games. But it's hard to knock what the Storm have been able to do. And I didn't really believe in the Tina Charles relationship with the Storm at first. I didn't think it was going to be as beneficial for both sides as it's been. But you can't knock their offensive efficiency lately. And that's with Jewel Lloyd not even playing at her best. And we've seen the numbers she's put up against Vegas. So it's definitely going to light up the scoreboard next series.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would probably agree that if the Mystics had matched up against the Aces, that I think the Aces probably would have been in a little bit of danger considering with how that matchup has gone this year.
Yeah, 0-2, losing at home as well. It's tough. And I know Elena Delle Donne didn't play the entire season. I thought they did a great job of resting her, but it'll be a nice what if. And 3-game series are really hard to judge.
Yeah, for sure. So I got to get your predictions on this Aces Storm series. Do you have a prediction for the series first?
I do. This one might be a little controversial, but I do like the Storm in this series, especially where the value is at. The Aces are the all-around favorite at every sports book. I think, as low as -110. I don't think they're plus odds anywhere else, but yeah, -110, -105. You can still get the Storm future at +600, and then the series price anywhere from +250 to +300. I do like another bet as well that's out on some books, but it's this series to go 5 games, and that's +175. I do worry, though, the Storm have not won in Vegas since 2018. Something's got to give, and I know that you and I have talked about this before. The starters for the Aces have played so many minutes. I do wonder if that catches up to them.
Yeah, for sure, which is why I think they were hoping for that sweep in the first round. And I kind of thought about this with the Storm as well. Like, you wanted to get by as easily as you could because now is kind of where it gets tougher. Now you have the best of 5 instead of a best of 3. And you're right. Like, the Aces' depth has definitely been a question that we've talked about all year. So it'll be interesting to see how fresh they're feeling under their legs. I'm sure this week-long break is going to be super, super helpful. I was thinking to myself, wow, there's no basketball for like literally a week, which is kind of crazy. But
tearing me apart.
Yeah. Do you have a bet for game one? Who are you taking?
I like Storm plus 5.5. I think it's probably great to look at it live, just looking at how these teams have come out in first quarters, especially in their own matchups. But I'm fine with that number. Uh, they have not come within that in those two matchups at Vegas this year, but I like it there. If you can bet it live, closer to plus 9.5, that's great too. And I think it's probably safe to take the over. I probably like the first half over just with the trend of this entire playoff so far. We've seen a lot of first half scoring. So that's probably a safe bet, but these teams really light up the scoreboard. They really can score, putting up threes at a high volume. And I think you'd be crazy to bet an under in any of these games, really. So I think over 169.5 is probably where it's at. 170, I like it there.
Yeah, I think especially with the defense on the inside, I think you're going to see a lot of three-point shooting in this series. So I'm excited. It's going to be lights out. I hope all your bets hit for this series because that would be incredible.
We'll see.
Yeah, and do you have a player that's kind of like an X factor on each team to watch out for, or a player that you might like to bet on?
Definitely with her props recently, I've been. I think I came across it just because it was the lowest point total on the Aces team lately, and I said her name before, but Chelsea Gray has been putting up insane numbers at an insane efficient rate. She's leading the playoffs with 31.8 points per 40 minutes. She's playing less than 25 minutes a game and averaging 22 points a game. Insane from someone who's also averaging 6 assists a game. She is everything for that team right now, at least in the last series. And I think she's going to play a huge factor given the matchup with probably Sue Bird guarding her. I think there's a great opportunity to get, normally her point total is anywhere from 13.5 to 14.5. And I like going over, especially in Vegas where she does shoot at a higher clip. 7.2 3-pointers made per 40 minutes in this playoffs. Wow. And then, I mean, these are all leading every player that's in the playoffs that has played a minute. She's leading in every category: points per play, points per scoring attempt. Probably one of the best efficient series we've seen from a player in WNBA in recent history.
Wow, that is quite the player to keep an eye on. And this first matchup is going to be at 4 p.m. ET on Sunday, so make sure to tune into that one. And then following after at 8 p.m., which is nice, it's kind of nicely spread out. We have the Connecticut Sun and the Chicago Sky, who none of them swept their teams in the first round. We kind of didn't even know. Like, it might have not been Sun Sky right now in the semifinals. It really could have gone either way at one point. Let's talk about the Connecticut Sun first, because they're series with Dallas was kind of really that up and down, and they were really able to pull away in that last quarter. What are your kind of biggest takeaways from the Sun, and do you have any expectations for them now?
I am a little worried because this should not have been a test, but it's probably because of the matchup they had with Dallas. They did lose the season series with Dallas, but from the way they looked in game one, the offense efficiency, the pace, the confidence they played with, it really evaporated. Game three, I just think they probably caught a tired Dallas, a Dallas team that didn't really know what they were going to get out of Enrique in that game with her first game back. So I don't think they were truly tested by a quality, better opponent the way that, teams like the Storm were. The Sky, on the other hand, also going to a game three, I do think that kind of matters with health. But from a Sun perspective, I'm just a little worried about the offense, especially with the slowed down pace that we saw compared to where they were in the regular season. I think DeWanna Bonner is going to have to step up a lot more like she did in game three. But it's also very scary betting against Alyssa Thomas in any way possible. She is, to me, an all WNBA player.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting because I think you could argue that the Liberty could have been a bad matchup for the Sun as well with the way their series kind of went on in the regular season. So, but we do have Sun Sky now. And on the Sky side, I feel like they should be gaining confidence now. They got past the Liberty, which kind of they scared them with that first game. Like everybody thought it was going to be a sweep. I did not think it was going to be a sweep. I'm sure you didn't think it was going to be a sweep based on. Oh, did you?
No, I mean, I had a feeling. I didn't bet money line on Liberty in game one until I saw Sabrina come out and kind of play with that edge. But I think that's when the Liberty are best, when they're loose and they're playing fearless without pressure, without expectations. It's a much better team because they do live and die by the three. And I don't think they put together 3 straight games shooting above 40% from three. And when you shoot at a high volume and you don't make a lot, it's going to be hard to do. But I like what you said about them getting or the Sky getting tested in game one. That reads really well for me as far as the fact that the champs faced that adversity, 2 straight elimination games, and really flexed hard, not only by winning by WNBA record by 38 points in game 2, but that game got within 3 points at Barclays, and it was rocking. It was so loud, and to see the Sky go on a 16-0 run in a matter of 3 to 4 minutes, it was hard to watch as somebody who was rooting for the David in that series, but from a Sky future perspective and the bets I have there, I was very happy.
Yeah, it just seems like the Sky always set records against Liberty, especially this season. Like it's kind of nuts at this point. But yeah, I think as we've seen all year round, like the Sky just seemed to be so much more complete, and the way that they were able to react and adapt to that adversity, like you mentioned within the series, I think is so important. With the championship DNA that they have, and it's definitely going to help them in this series against the Connecticut Sun. Do you have any predictions? I think I would probably go with the Sky sweep, to be honest.
Ooh, the sweep. I think I've seen that I saw it at plus 400 yesterday at FanDuel. I think today it's at plus 330. I do think there might be some value there still. It's hard to beat a team 10 straight times dating back to last year's playoffs. But obviously we've seen, this Connecticut Sun team has something mentally blocking them from beating the Sky team. And the Sky won games without some of their players against Connecticut. I think we saw a game without Candace Parker in Connecticut that went to overtime. That the Sun were up 6 in overtime and still lost by 4. You have so many different weapons on this team that can go off on any night. And like you were talking about earlier, they're poised in their championship DNA. So I wouldn't be against betting on a sweep. I do like the Sky Series price right now. It's at minus 130 at Caesars, but I've seen it high as minus 160, which I still think is solid. I also like minus 1.5 at plus 140. I don't think Connecticut wins 2 games. I could see them getting 1 at home, but man, I don't know. I might tell you on this one, Crina. I mean, the more I talk about the Sky, the more I love them. I'm going to be there. I'm here in Chicago. I'm going on Sunday. And I hope that we see them win by at least 4 with the spread being minus 3.5. Do you have any feelings on the total with this game?
Here's the thing. All year long, I've betted on the over for Sky Sun games, and they've never actually hit for the totals. I think maybe one of them hit, but it was like by 1 point. Like the margin was so small. And so I honestly don't even know what to expect. Like I'm so nervous to bet on total number of points between these two teams because it kind of always lets me down. But I'm kind of leaning for the under here, possibly, just like based on how the Dallas series did go with the Sun. I don't know. And the reason I'm confident in the sweep in general is because I feel like the Sky are at a point where, okay, you face that adversity in round 1. So now you kind of know what you need to do to get through another series. And to be honest, the Sky are going to want a sweep if they want to make it to the finals and be, fully rested, fully healthy, all of that. So we'll see. Do you have a player on either team that you like what their props are looking at?
I'm kicking myself for not betting her assist too, but I bet her points over in game 3 in New York, and that was Courtney Vandersloot. I don't know if there's a player I trust more, especially in playoffs. The turnovers have gone down. The assists have skyrocketed. Second in the playoffs in assist. She The line is getting up high, though. I will say that with assist. I think it's usually it was at 6.5. Now I think at the last game it was 7.5, but it was at plus money. I do love her matchup though with Natisha Heidemann. That's not a defender that scares me. But also you got Kalia Copper, who is also one of the most dependable players right now. I am a little worried about Candace Parker props from a point perspective, especially with John Quell guarding her. That might be a great underspot. And we've seen Emma Miesemann, put up 20 points, over 20 points twice against this Connecticut team. And I think that has to do with a lot of the attention that Candace Parker gets. So it's a good matchup in a lot of different places, but I think I lean strongest with Vandersloot and Copper. What about you?
Yeah, I think those are good picks. I remember that one time when I think Courtney Vandersloot, her assist was like super low. I think you sent it to like a group chat or something, which is kind of crazy. I feel like her assist numbers are always going to be high, but I like that. I think she's been very dependable in this playoff series and honestly like in the year in general. But I'm very excited. Hopefully our predictions are right because honestly that's the best feeling. Hopefully they hit. Hopefully I see your tweets hitting. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to say, like, I think this is the best thing that could possibly happen to me because if anyone doesn't know, I love tweeting about it. But we don't have any games on a Friday, but Friday Crina is a different animal. I think she goes hard, she wins, and I love it. And the fact that we're talking on a Friday makes me feel even better going into the semifinals.
Yeah. Just something about the Fridays. Well, that's all for us today. Thank you so much for joining me again, Dano. And make sure to go check him out on Twitter. We'll make sure to have his handles and everything in the description below. And that's another edition of WNBA Wagers.